Just look at his face.
Then I have
the honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. The Prime Minister appointed a special envoy to fight Islamophobia, and she felt that her terms of reference included criticizing Quebec's universities for not providing for student security. Perhaps we don't see Islamophobia in the same way, because some would say that this position is, strictly speaking, a liberal activist and political position. So I'd like to ask the Prime Minister, what is his definition of Islamophobia? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this government recognized that there was a rise in intolerance of all kinds all across the country, and we had a duty to recognize that and fight against it. That's why we appointed a special representative against Islamophobia and also a special rep against anti-Semitism, and we also recognize systemic discrimination in our institutions. So we have lots of challenges to face in bringing Canadians together and in addressing our challenges together to create a more peaceful and respectful country, the country that we now have. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. This is no small thing. The Prime Minister does not know the definition of Islamophobia. Does he think that without a definition, criticizing Quebec universities reduces Islamophobia somehow? Or does it rather polarize Canadians and pit them against one another? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as the member opposite knows full well, I am a proud Quebecer, and I am proud that the Liberal Party of Canada has more Quebec members than the Bloc Québécois does. So we are proud Canadians, proud Quebecers, and we know that in every institution all across country there are challenges around racism, systemic discrimination, and so on, and we need to address those issues, and that's the work we're doing, because we know everyone should feel included and respected within our country, and unfortunately we're seeing a rise in intolerance all across the country. So it's our duty, all of our duties, to come together and listen to one another. The Honourable Member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, all over the country, Conservative governments are privatizing our health care. They want people to have to pay to see a doctor, and it's no different in Quebec. But this Prime Minister is too weak to stand up to the Conservatives, and the people are the ones paying the price. What's it going to take for him to stand up to defend the principles of universal public health care? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we all know that the NDP is concerned about progressive values all across the country, but they can't deliver the goods. We were happy to work with them to deliver concrete things in healthcare, in childcare, for Canadians, but unfortunately, they're the ones who decided to stop delivering the goods for Canadians. Progressive things are not always easy to accomplish, but we will continue fighting to do so. We will continue to defend our public health care system, and we will keep investing in the Canadian system. But unfortunately, the NDP can't say the same.
The Honourable Member for Cowichan, Malahat, Langford.
They are failing on health care and they are failing on groceries, because 1 year ago today, the Liberals met with Canada's grocery CEOs and promised to stabilize prices. A year later, prices are still up. Grocery CEOs are still gouging families struggling to put food on the table. Meanwhile, the Conservatives remain silent on grocery greed, and they want to give even more taxpayer money to these CEOs. Canadians are fed up. They are working harder and falling further behind. Why does this Prime Minister keep caving to CEOs while Canadians pay the price?
Hear, hear! The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker,
Speaker, unfortunately, the NDP is taking a page out of the Conservative playbook and choosing slogans rather than the hard work that will actually help Canadians. We've delivered some of the most comprehensive reforms to the Competition Act in order to hold big grocers account for the work that they're doing in terms of delivering for Canadians. We've also moved forward on a national school food program that's putting more food in the bellies of 400,000 kids across the country as provinces come on board, and is going to save parents up to $800 on their grocery bills. These are things tangibly that we're busy delivering while they're playing politics.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
April 30th, 2014. Life in Canada, home of the world's most affluent middle class, the New York Times. Yet, today, almost a decade after that NDP Liberal Prime Minister has been in what he calls the big chair, Canada's GDP per capita is actually down, while the American one is up 19%. His carbon taxes are strangling growth. How could the solution possibly be to quadruple the tax to 61 cents a litre and send more jobs and businesses south?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, we know the Leader of the Opposition doesn't believe in climate change and doesn't believe in putting more money in the pockets of Canadians with the Canada carbon rebate. How many wildfires, hurricanes, droughts are going to go after Canadians' lives and livelihoods before he understands you can't have a plan for the economy unless you have a plan for the environment?
So climate change
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He doesn't have a plan for either, as evidenced by the fact that he came completely unglued and started spitting out personal insults and crying, "Liar, liar, liar," on a radio station the other day when he learned that I had pointed to his own government report, which showed that his carbon tax will blow a $25 to $30 billion hole in our GDP. This was from a report that his government tabled in the House of Commons. If, in fact, his government is lying about the true cost of the carbon tax to our economy, then what is the true cost?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Parliamentary Budget Officer demonstrated that 8 out of 10 Canadian families do better with the Canada carbon rebate every 3 months than the cost of the price on pollution. And on top of that, Canadians know the price on pollution has brought down our emissions faster than any other G7 country at the same time as it is supporting Canadians in the middle class and working hard to join it. We're going to continue to fight climate change and invest in a strong economy for the future, while the Leader of the Opposition continues to deny climate change and cut programs and services that Canadians rely on.
That's right.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, you can't sit in the big chair if you can't read your own government documents. Environment and Climate Change Canada carbon pollution pricing data tabled in this House by his government said that it will cost between $25 and $30 billion in lost GDP when this tax is implemented. A further document tabled by his Environment Minister on Carbon Tax 2 says there will be another $9 billion hole for a total of between $34 and $40 billion. Now he screams that this is all lies. Again, if his government documents are lying, what is the true cost of the carbon tax to our economy?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, every Canadian, except perhaps the Canadians in the Conservative Party of Canada, understand that the costs of inaction on climate change will be catastrophic, not just with wildfires, droughts, floods, hurricanes, but with lost economic opportunity, lost jobs, lost growth for Canadians as we solve the challenges of the 21st century. We are choosing to invest in a strong economy for the future. We're choosing to fight climate change and develop the solutions that the world's going to need to do that, while the Leader of the Opposition offers a do-nothing climate change plan that will cost Canadians billions.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
His carbon tax has not stopped a single flood, or single fire in this country. He's not stopped any natural disasters. What he has done is driven Canadians into poverty, quadrupling the tax to 61 cents a litre will cause a nuclear winter for our economy. Something that his carbon tax coalition partners in the NDP have voted to bring about. So if he really is so confident in a 61 cent a litre tax, why doesn't he call a carbon tax election and let Canadians decide?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the problem with the Leader of the Opposition is he believes in slogans. He just doesn't believe in climate change. The fact is, our plan to fight climate change is not just putting more money in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians across the country, but it's bringing down emissions and creating jobs and opportunity for Canadians for generations to come. His climate change denialism, his do-nothing plan to fight climate change is going to hurt Canadians. We are going to continue to build a strong economy for the future because we know fighting climate change is part of it.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
But he's not fighting climate change. He's driving production out of Canada to more polluting for foreign jurisdictions, rather than our common sense plan to green-light green projects that produce more energy around the world that displace emissions. That's a common sense approach. And he still won't answer the question, though, on the full cost of his 2 carbon taxes. I've cited government documents tabled in this House that say that it will total between $34 and $40 billion per year in lost GDP and jobs. If his government documents are wrong, then what is the true loss of GDP as a result of his 61 cent a litre carbon tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, he talks about driving investment out of Canada. He must be remembering his own time as minister, because since 2016, Mr. Speaker, foreign direct investment is up 60% in this country. Last year, we were 3rd in the world after the U.S. and Brazil, which makes us number 1 for foreign investment in the G20 per capita. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, we are continuing to show the world that they can have confidence in Canada and in Canadians. Why doesn't he have confidence in Canadians? Why won't he invest in Canada?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Governor of the Bank of Canada said of Canada's investment problems, emergency break glass. Canadian workers get 55 cents of investment for every dollar American workers get, and only 65 cents for every dollar that an OECD worker gets. The gap between the Canadian and U.S. economy is now at a 100-year high after 9 years of the NDP Liberals. So one last time, his own documents show that his 61 cent a litre carbon tax will blow a $40 billion hole in our economy. If that number's not right, what is the real number?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, once again we see that the Leader of the Opposition is frustrated that international economists, climate experts, academics all back our plan to both fight climate change and grow a strong economy, while he's stuck with late-night far-right conspiracy YouTube videos. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, we are delivering concretely to build a stronger future for Canadians, to fight climate change and to grow the economy, while he is hiding his head in the sand and refusing to admit even that climate change is real.
The honourable member.
So there you have it, folks. You've seen both sides of the debate. So every answer that our Prime Minister gives is based off of climate change. Now, my question is that, do you think climate change is real, and is that something that we as Canadians actually make a difference out of based on the carbon tax? Or is there like other ways we can, fight climate change while, abolishing the carbon tax? Now, we've seen the reports here, we've seen Pierre's arguments here. So I want to know what your thoughts are, and thank you for joining us today. And be sure to click the like button and be sure to subscribe. Thank you. Bye.